What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Fast. Today, let's get started with MMA legend weighs in on Alex Pereira's post-UFC 320 possibilities. UFC legend Chael Sonnen recently shared his 2 cents on Alex Pereira's future in the sport. Pereira is set to face Magomed Ankalaev in a highly anticipated title rematch at UFC 320 in October. Sonnen explored the possibility of Pereira losing again and moving to heavyweight to attempt to become a 3-division champion. In their last encounter at UFC 313 in March, Pereira lost to Ankalaev via unanimous decision and lost the light heavyweight throne. Given their fighting styles, many have questioned Pereira's ability to get the better of Ankalaev. I do think that we need to be prepared for what if Alex loses. There was nothing that any analyst saw in that first fight that would lead you to believe that if we do it again, we're going to get a different outcome. There was a matchup issue. It's the same 2 guys. What do we do if he gets beat? First off, he did. Secondly, he's likely to do it again lose. I don't think it hurts him. I still want to see him at heavyweight. That's what I want as a fan. Do you realize that if he achieved that, you and I no longer get to argue about the GOAT? It's a very interesting thing. Michael Bisping previews a potential fight between Conor McGregor and washed Michael Chandler at UFC White House event. Michael Chandler might still be the only fight that makes sense for Conor McGregor. Despite years of hype, false starts, and long layoffs, Chandler remains the lone name consistently linked to McGregor's UFC return. Michael Bisping thinks the current version of Chandler is the most winnable matchup McGregor could ask for. McGregor's getting a little bit older, but if he wants to come back and he wants to fight at the White House, great. Fair play. Who would he fight? Well, of course, there is the match with Michael Chandler. Him versus Chandler, yes, an interesting fight. 100%. Certainly a fight that I would favor Conor McGregor to win. I think it would be a perfect opponent to come back to and face after so much time away, because the version of Michael Chandler that we saw against Paddy Pimblett was washed. He was done. He was over the hill. Chael Sonnen doesn't believe it's fair to question Khamzat Chimaev's conditioning. As we know, we're just a few weeks away from Khamzat Chimaev challenging Dricus du Plessis for the UFC middleweight championship. It's a fight that's been a long time coming, and it's one that many are backing Boers to win. However, some have questioned the state of his conditioning. It's been a question mark that has followed Khamzat around for a while now in the UFC. While he's dominant when he gets to his opponent early, he sometimes fades slightly when it comes to the later rounds. Of course, it may not end up being a problem whatsoever, but it's worth keeping in mind. Chimaev has got to get him down. He can't just go fight him anywhere. Then there's a big question around Chimaev's conditioning. I don't know if that's fair. We've seen Chimaev get exhausted. Fedor used to get exhausted, but he never stopped. It never slowed him down. And it's the same thing with Chimaev. I don't think it's fair to question his conditioning. I think he's got a bunch of energy and he uses it all, which is what he's supposed to do. That's going to get tested, and we are going to find out if that's accurate. I am also giving Dricus a lot better of a look than I was when Chimaev beat Whittaker and the fight got announced. Brady calls for welterweight collision with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Over the course of the last few years, Brady has really made his presence felt in the welterweight division. He has firmly established himself as a top contender at 170 pounds, and that much is obvious. In equal measure, though, things are as stacked as they have been in a long time at welterweight. There is a long list of fighters who believe that they are on the verge of earning a title opportunity. So, as you can imagine, it may be time for the UFC to start pitting some of these guys against one another. Brady, meanwhile, has an idea for how they can separate a few different fighters in the pecking order. I seen through a little birdie that Shavkat was saying something about him coming back in November or December, so if he's coming back in November, I want to fight soon, but I would wait and fight him at Madison Square Garden on the same card as Jack and Islam, and then that's a true #1 contenders fight. Because he was guaranteed a title fight, I beat the #1 guy. Whoever wins, that will be the true #1 contender, so I would like to do that. We're going to reach out this week and see if that's an option. I have been trying to fight since my last fight. They called us about a month ago and asked about me and Ian Machado Gary for Chicago. I was in, didn't hear anything from the UFC or anything after that. Islam Makhachev's coach admits he's impressed by Ilia Topuria, leaves door open for UFC mega fight. Islam Makhachev's coach likes what he has seen from Ilia Topuria. Topuria captured his second UFC title at the age of 28. After becoming the first fighter to knock out Max Holloway in a successful UFC featherweight title defense, El Matador captured the 155-pound gold by starching Charles Oliveira. I like what he's been doing. He's doing a good job at getting people to want to watch the fight. The more Ilia does, the more people want to see this fight. I like everything he's doing as a fighter. He's very strong and doesn't care about the weight. I think now it's a great fight for us. The first thing Islam wanted was a legacy fight. He wanted the welterweight title. Now if we win the welterweight title, we can go down or he can come up. That's what I say. But if the UFC doesn't like it, it's not happening. But first we need to win. Robert Whittaker is close to MMA retirement, says UFC middleweight contender. UFC middleweight Caio Borralho believes Robert Whittaker is getting close to retiring from mixed martial arts. As we know, Robert Whittaker is one of the best middleweights of his generation. There are some out there who might dispute that, but in reality, it's the truth. He has done some incredible things throughout the course of his career, which includes becoming UFC middleweight champion. However, after losses to Khamzat Chimaev and Rainier de Ridder, many have questioned what the future holds for Whittaker. He's still more than capable of mixing it up with the elite at 185 pounds, but in equal measure, he's been in the game for a long time now. Of course, he is the only one who can determine when he'll walk away, but it feels like his next fight is a must-win. In a recent interview, the aforementioned Caio Borralho gave his thoughts on what's next for Robert Whittaker. I don't think so. Robert Whittaker is a legend. I'm a big fan of him and all that he's done in the sport. He's one of the GOATs in the middleweight division, but right now, I feel that it seems like he doesn't want to be there anymore. His face says that. His body expressions say that. With all due respect to him, I'm a big fan, but right now it's just not his moment anymore. I think he's very close to retire or something like that. Tony Ferguson flirts with idea of eventual move from MMA to baseball. Former MMA star Tony Ferguson has suggested that he could eventually make the move over into baseball. As we know, Tony Ferguson is set to return to active competition later this month. One thing that a lot of people don't know about Ferguson is that he was pretty solid in the baseball department back in the day. During a recent face-off interview with his upcoming opponent, he even suggested that he could return to the sport one day. This is a new sport. It's a new avenue for me to be able to go compete. If I want to go play pro baseball later on, whatever. I was talking to my agent. This is another avenue for me as an athlete to be able to demonstrate my talent. UFC analyst claims Ilia Topuria's first lightweight challenger has been decided. Topuria recently captured the 155-pound gold by sleeping Charles Oliveira in the opening frame of their UFC 317 main event. That's now 3 straight knockout wins over future UFC Hall of Famers for El Matador. While Topuria has looked like a world beater, there are enticing challengers for him. The UFC showed Arman Tsarukyan, Justin Gaethje, and Paddy Pimblett sitting in the crowd following Topuria's lightweight title victory. Pimblett ended up having a stare down with Topuria inside the octagon, which UFC CEO Dana White wasn't too fond of. Outside of illness or injury, even if I'm breaking news to you, I'm not sharing my opinion. I'm sharing a fact with you. It's Arman versus Ilia. That is 100% the plan. Sonnen then shared a few key reasons that has led him to theorize that Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan is the plan. There's a couple things that have changed for Arman. I'm obviously coming to you with information, whether I should have or shouldn't have. Secondly, I was the best man at his wedding, and his name is Daryl Christian, and he's the wrestling coach of Arman Tsarukyan. Third of all, I just spoke to coach Sam Calavita, who wanted to film Khamzat training, and it turned out Tsarukyan is in the room. And a bigger tell also is what Ilia did a week ago, which he said, I don't want the fight. The greats, they don't even know they have it. Ilia's first move for doing a fight is to deny the fight. The only person that he said he'll openly fight is Paddy Pimblett.